Good morning, Saints. Well, a good brother in the Lord last night shared a couple of articles. He sends me stuff he thinks is relevant, and it's really a blessing because you see the intersection of what other people are seeing as well. It just all points to one thing: that the day is getting closer. But the first one he sent me was this one here, WorldNet Daily article. I think it came out yesterday. Yeah, even last night. The Harbinger ancient curse is uttered again in Israel, and it's because they're having forest fires and out of control burning going on in northern Israel, and they've been using the Isaiah 9:10 rebellion verse that Jonathan Cahn popularized. The Harbinger, and he had the movie. The WorldNet Daily published the Isaiah 9:10 judgment, and they're using the verse again in regards to what they're going to do now after the forest fires burn down. They're going to replant trees and do all this stuff, and they're using that mantra of the sycamores have been cut down, but we'll replace them with cedars, which Jonathan Cahn pointed to is really a rebellious thing. So I found that really interesting last night, because when he emailed it to me, I was actually doing the teaching on Pastor Patrick's live YouTube show, and I was doing this verse. And so, whatever you think about coincidence, that was a big coincidence last night. The email came in, and I was literally teaching about the symbolism, the sycamores being a historic Middle Eastern fig tree, and fig tree being a symbol for God's people. And then cedars being a symbol out of Ezekiel 31 for the Antichrist, but because in that passage you see cedars are used symbolically for Satan's minions, you literally see God's people, the fig tree, being cut down and being replaced with Satan's minions. And so it's even symbolically, it's a rebellious change from God to Satan. Is a symbolic subtext to what we read there. And so we were teaching that last night right when the article came in. I just think that's crazy. Crazy in a supernatural kind of coincidental way. And then I'm going to play a little sound clip on this. Now, this is Glenn Beck's syndicated radio show. He publishes to SoundCloud. So I think in a sense, the SoundCloud content isn't license restricted the same as like a commercial record label, for instance, would copyright their content, but I'm still declaring the fair use the Fair Use Act on this. I just want to play like 1 minute of this. Came out yesterday as well. It's a little discussion Glenn Beck was having with this Blitz kind of a co-host on this show, and they're talking about Alexander Dugin, who is a Russian big political figure that is steeped in some intrigue right now, as he's apparently has had the ear of President Putin for a while. And so they're trying to figure out, what's Putin's response going to be to all this that's going on. So I'm only going to play you 1 minute, and it actually isn't on the point that they're making during the audio track. If you want to listen to the whole thing, come to SoundCloud Glenn Beck and just look in the most recent post here, Beck Blitz, who's Alexander Dugin. You can listen to the whole thing, but let's just listen up here.
Okay, so this is Dugin speaking. He's been given a keynote speech. He's been traveling the world, basically laying his theory, which is called the fourth political theory, the fourth turning.
Okay. And he is a guy who believes that he sounds like one of the mullahs in Iran, because he believes chaos has to come, and out of chaos will come the strong men. So he is pushing for violence in the streets.
Now listen to this. While I read this, just think to yourself, this is the man that's informing Putin on his foreign policy now. Just think about that. As this gathering begins, we must be thinking about the future and the questions that face a revolutionary struggle in the very lair of the Antichrist. We are looking not for easy answers, but hard questions. It is not enough to hopefully expect the apocalypse. It is not enough to convince ourselves that the enemy will just collapse. We must prepare ourselves with a serious study of the eternal tradition of revolution, and we must kindle the burning fire of passion and will that is the very life force of her eternal return.
Okay. So they go on to focus on Crimea and all the, I'll just say, tactical, in the flesh kind of actions that flow from that. But what's the bigger deal here? This Dugin guy that is consulting with Putin is clearly trying to gin up conflict, and he's talking about the life force. I don't know if I got that right, but and the Antichrist, and it's a spiritual thing, and what's he modeling after? Probably because this is what he believes, but the Luciferians, the Freemasons believe in order out of chaos. It's exactly what the story is, and then the leader comes forth, the life force comes forth. They'll take control of the world. So if you had wonders, like I think U.S. political policy, and now definitely if you look at the EU and Germany in particular, political policy, it seems like manufactured chaos. And what do you hear? The political advisor to Putin is advocating for the exact same story. And so, I think some people worry about being branded a conspiracy theorist, or, nobody likes to be shamed, right? But if you're following Christ and you know what's in the Bible, SEAL 2 is global war. Well, to get global war, you have to have global unrest, don't you? And so the whole thing is biblical in the way it fits together, and the fact that it's very easy to find what the themes are for the Luciferians, for the Freemasons, and you see those type of people advocating those kind of policies in position all over the world, tells you how close we are to the coming of the Lord. So I just thought that was extremely insightful. I appreciate Brother Allen for sending the links last night. This one, just it confirms again even if Putin knows nothing about this advice he's being given other than it could work against NATO, for instance, even if he doesn't know, which I think he does know, the spiritual aspect of what's behind this, or he wouldn't be listening to this guy. You can clearly see it's Luciferian, Freemasonic thinking. As a matter of fact, it goes all the way back to the Rosicrucians and in the Hegelian dialectic, that whole order out of chaos thing does. And once you understand that, these patterns are just so blatantly obvious. And that's why I think the Lord's got to come at any point now, because we know from Thessalonians, for instance, that people are in dark, but we are not of dark. We're of light, and we're children of the day, that we should see that day approaching. I mean, come on, we were told we will see this day approaching, and yet the world will be caught off guard. We see major things going on, like the intentional destruction of the U.S. economy, the intentional bringing in of the refugees, if you want to call it that, which 95% are probably legitimate refugees, or at least economic refugees, is what some of these countries that are rebelling against this big influx are saying. They had a job in Sudan selling, peas or grains or something, but if they just get to Germany, they're going to get a welfare check for 10 times more. You know, the economic refugee story is probably at least as big as the persecution part of it, which is horrific coming out of like Syria. And so that though is intentional. It's the chaos. Look at the rapes, look at the murder, look at the mass killings that are coming. Oh, and no, it's not, you know, Islamic terrorism. It's you know, one-off situations is what Merkel has been saying in Germany, for instance. So it's the world being played, and whether you can accept the fact that the current leadership of the world is Luciferian, are Satan's minions in position now for the final coming of the Antichrist, or whether you at least see biblically that the story was prophesied, and at least from an orchestration level, Satan is behind what people are saying. It doesn't matter. It shows you how close we are. So I'll leave links down below this video. It's just a quick update. But come listen. Now, you know, Glenn Beck again goes after the effect of what's going on. I was just trying to demonstrate what's behind what's behind the coaching that Putin is getting. So God bless you, saints. Should be going home soon.